Down to Florida, we welcome you to the Sunshine State. They're kicking back and soaking up the rays every day in Florida.
Hello and welcome back once again to the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast. This is a very special HR Florida 19 edition. John and Wendy talk to the rest of the HR Florida 19 social media team. I'm your host, John.
And I'm Wendy. How you doing, John?
Well, Wendy, we're in this tremendous space here at the Gaylord Palms. Just a beautiful presidential suite that Heather Deyrieux was kind enough to share with us to be able to record.
Yes, she was.
It's so really excited to be here and want to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. And we're just going to spend a little bit of time talking because those of you who've been listening to the podcast for a while, you've heard all these folks before. And again, we just wanted to get the social media team together that was here for the conference to talk a little bit about what's going on.
Jazmine, why don't you go first?
Hi, everyone. It's Jazmine, HR Jazzy, back with the HR Social Hour team.
It's Amanda, the HR Panda, here with the HR Social Hour. I'm very excited to be here.
Lorena, El Pavon HR. I'm really excited to be here with recording this podcast.
And this is great because Amanda and Jazmine have both been on once before, and then Lorena was on not only with the regular show, but did our recap time last year of the pop culture stuff. So I know we wanted to just talk briefly about what's been going on. You know, Wendy, we talked a bit about the fact that at least of those of us sitting at the table, several of us have made job changes since we've been on.
That's true, including myself. The greater percentage of us have new jobs, which is exciting. Jazmine's been moving around quite a bit. So, Jazmine, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to since, it's been a while since we talked, but tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
It has been a while, but yes, I did change jobs twice. So that's been fun, but really just, continuing the blogging and keeping up with everyone in the HR world and seeing what's going on. That's what I've been up to.
And we saw you at Redefined in May.
Yes.
I think that's the last time we saw you.
Yes,
So,
up in New York.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. That was namely put on a great conference. So Florida's doing a good job. They're keeping our standards are going to get a lot higher here.
Standards have gotten a lot higher over this week, absolutely.
Especially since this morning. It's been great.
And Amanda, you have, I think you've made some changes as well.
I have. So about 5.5 months ago, I started a new job. Still an HR generalist, but for a new company called Radix. I'm in downtown Orlando. And I actually got to move to Orlando, so I'm not doing the hour commute anymore. So that's been probably the best thing, the best change I've had. But yeah, it's been good. Just been blogging and doing all the social media stuff. So it's been great.
Now, Lorena, I think you and I are the only stalwarts that have not switched jobs.
Yes, and that's impressive because I'm a millennial and we always like to change jobs. So I'm going on 2 years in a few months with associates in dermatology. So not a lot has changed in that regard. But I am, last time I spoke to you guys, I was actually doing membership for Greater Orlando SHRM. That's changed, and now I'm doing college relations, and I've been having fun with that role. It's a lot more interactive and not so behind the scenes, so I do like it a lot.
That's awesome. I think it's great to see that involvement as well. I will punch you later for just bringing it up, but I'm not sure if we're allowed to punch actual millennials for talking about millennials. So I'm going to talk to Dan Cross and Steve Brown, and I'll get back to you on whether or not we have to have a little rumble. So
I'll punch her for you. I'm a millennial.
There we go, yeah.
Well, we've had a chance to be together for several days now at this conference, which has just been tremendous across the board. I guess maybe we can talk a little bit about what's been exciting, or what, Wendy, maybe you can talk a little bit about what's good, what's out there.
Yeah, I think the biggest highlight so far for me, or one of the highlights, I got to meet Shaun White. Won an opportunity for a meet and greet with him. So I actually had to pay attention to what he was talking about. Felt like should probably pay attention to this one, maybe do a blog post about it. So a blog post is coming about him and what he shared, and maybe a little bit of extra stuff in there too. But the speaker quality has been it's interesting because I didn't really know any of the keynotes, and so learning a little bit more about them and jumping into that. So, but I've never had a celebrity meet and greet. I've never met a 3-time Olympic champion, so I can add that to my belt notches there. Jazmine, what has been your highlight so far, or something that you're really looking forward to?
I would say a financial wellness class session was actually one of the best breakout sessions I've heard here, and his name was Brent Hines, and he just did a phenomenal job actually helping HR professionals realize that, you might need to give your person a raise, but you also need to find a way to help them be financially aware of what they're doing. So getting that wellness key is really key to an organization. So that was something that I definitely plan on taking back to not only my organization, but NASHRM as a whole.
I think that's neat. I wouldn't have expected that at all, so I think that's good. How about you, Lorena?
Well, today's keynote was my favorite by far. Dr. Derek Kayungo, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, I'm so sorry. I just loved him. Just his message in general and how he tied it to HR. In my experience, not all keynote speakers know how to tie it into HR, and we don't expect them to all the time because obviously they don't understand our career, like our jobs and whatnot. So having someone who actually took the time to kind of research and see how we can tie it to HR and make us feel important, of course, that was very impressive and he was funny. He was hilarious. So.
He cracked himself up a lot, which
yes.
was great.
Yes, and I like that type of people because I'm kind of like that. I laugh at my own jokes even if no one's laughing. So,
I think it was pretty telling when he was like, "Does anyone know any Americans?" And not a hand went up. I'm like, really?
Or Americans from Pittsburgh. I'm like, I know some.
And he was very fashionable.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh.
Indeed, yes.
I've been thinking a lot about Jennifer McClure because of all of the awesome shoes.
Yes.
I have tweeted her a couple of times, like, Jennifer, you might have to come down next year because the shoes are on point, and I'm not a shoe person at all. How about you, Amanda?
Well, I enjoyed both of the keynotes, but I really enjoyed seeing Andy Masters yesterday. He was talking about how our employees and candidates are on drugs and they're cheating the system. And I feel like I learned so much, because he was telling us about how, rates and everything have, skyrocketed for overdoses in the last 20 years, but positive drug tests have stayed the same and maybe have decreased. And he showed us how employees and candidates are cheating these drug test systems. And I'm like, I had no idea this was a thing. And I learned 3 different places locally that we can buy synthetic urine if anybody ever needs to know.
So that's BHR Panda if you need some clean urine, apparently.
Yeah, so whatever. But his whole session, I've seen Andy before, and this was very different than anything he's ever done, but I thought it was great. He's very passionate about it. So I definitely, if he ever comes to your neck of the woods, definitely go see him.
So basically, you learned that your employees are high, basically?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm missing out, apparently. All right, and John, you got to share yours too.
Wendy, we go to enough of these conferences, you start to see a lot of trends.
Yes.
Right? And so we hear the words that we aren't going to mention again, even though some of the other folks at the table are of that age range.
It's a drinking game.
The M word. We hear a lot about that. You hear a lot about strategic. How do you be strategic? How's AI going to get into all the mix? So it can be a challenge to find things every once in a while. I will say that I found the keynote so far strikingly different from the standpoint that Shaun White was very entertaining. He's not a speaker, though, and I don't think he claims to be. He was not a polished speaker, but I thought he had he knows his story, he tells it well, and was very engaging. And it was fascinating because I still think of him as a kid with the long hair,
right,
and doing all the crazy tricks. I thought I was disappointed he didn't do anything on the skateboard, but as we talked about, probably there's some fear factor there that he doesn't want to injure himself before a championship. But as I was telling my wife last night, it's amazing to think that a 31-year-old is continuing to be competitive in a sport like that, like skate. And he talked about skateboarding and the fact that he continues to compete at that level from skateboarding. But that was really interesting. Had a chance to meet Jason Treyu and sit in on his session, which was fascinating. Look forward to having him on the show in the next several months because I really like what he's doing and how he's doing it, working with people and really like we do, Wendy, in terms of making connections and getting people to know each other in a different way. And he's got a game he's put together that we're going to test it out ourselves and see Cards Against Mundanity. But just had a great conversation with him after his session and really enjoyed that. Derek Kiongo was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Incredibly entertaining, an amazing story. As he said, if you want to invest in a refugee kid, this is what you get. And here is this guy that is changing the world in a major way. 800 million bars of soap get wasted. He has found a way to take that soap and reuse it and take it to places where people are dying because they're just not clean. There's so many germs and hygiene. So fascinating stuff so far, and certainly looking forward to the next several sessions. But yeah, I think it's been very interesting to see that even though there is a lot of sameness in terms of topic, of course the speakers are different and they're going to deliver it differently. I think the two keynotes in particular are very telling that I found both of them very interesting. Very, very different reasons.
Right.
Very different reasons and very different deliveries and styles. I am very jealous, though, that you met Shaun White, I have to say. I've not met an Olympic medalist either, much less one with three. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting, interesting thing, now 1 degree away, from that.
And Amanda, you met him too, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. Wendy and I were together. So.
Yeah. She actually found me and made sure I got to the right spot. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
For sure.
When I checked in, they're like, "Where's Wendy?" And I'm like, "Hold on, let me go get her." I went running. I was like, "This is the fastest I've ran," and I didn't do the 5K. So I guess I
appreciate Amanda running for me. That's we're not a group of runners here by any stretch of the imagination. Nope. So. But I think, John, you kind of touch on a point. There's a lot of sameness, a lot of similarities. And, we have a lot of people around this table who have not just participated in conferences, but helped plan them from different angles. And I know that I'm taking some ideas back, some things that we can do in South Dakota. I mean, we're not at this scale by any stretch, but there are a few things that we can do and take some ideas back. So I'm kind of curious for everyone else at the table, what are some of your best non-speaker things from the conference so far? We'll start with you, Lorena.
Okay. So a few things. First of all, the 5K. I did not expect to enjoy it as I did not love the walking part, I'll tell you that, but I did like having my family, kind of see what what HR Florida is all about. And because I always tell them about these conferences, but they don't necessarily will get it. I mean, they've gone to conferences themselves, but their careers are different. So it was fun to, to see them interact with people I know in my career and whatnot. And then the other thing I really love about these conferences is the evening events and the fact that it's all inside the same hotel. It's just so much easier to navigate.
Thank you for not making me go outside too much in Florida.
Exactly.
Especially when it's thundering like last night.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Last night was thundering, so that was a thing. So, yeah, most definitely, the evening events, I get to network with a lot of people who are not necessarily in Orlando. I always hang out with my Orlando peeps, of course, but I love to see the people I know from South Florida, the people I know from Tampa, and just talk to them. So those are the two main things I like about the conference. They're not related to speaking.
Cool. How about you, Amanda?
So just networking as a whole. So whether I'm, going around the expo hall and seeing vendors that I actually know or that I don't know and I want to meet. So just like HR Florida's tagline this year, it's creating connections, building bridges together. So having that opportunity to walk around and meet people and that, through the expo hall, the evening events, the 5K, just kind of hanging around, sitting in the VIP lounge, which has been awesome. Just meeting new people and taking those connections back, and because you never know where you're going to be able to utilize those connections in the future. So it's been pretty great.
For sure. Okay, so Jazmine, you're like John and I, not from Florida. This is our first time at HR Florida as well. So your thoughts on the non-speaker side?
Well, I too love the fact that the conference is in the same hotel and I don't have to go anywhere in this heat in Florida. But I do think that they've done a really great job on having people come together and network and make the connections that they are pushing for, because they're giving you the after hours. They're giving you, the smaller conference room, so you're able to really talk to people in the room with you, and that's one of the biggest things that I've enjoyed.
I think that's key. It's not, as great as it is at going to national. It's just so gigantic, and Florida is a larger conference, a larger state conference, which is great. But it is small enough that you can make those connections. You can run into people,
Yes.
which I think is awesome. Okay, John, you?
There have been several things. First of all, we got to come in a little bit early. We got to hang out with Amanda. We went to a place where they yelled about ketchup. That was pretty hilarious. And then Sunday morning, maybe the highlight of the whole thing for me, we had breakfast with Mickey.
Yeah.
A table, the only table of adults as best I can tell. You, me, Amanda, Lorena, Ann Tompkinson. I think that was everybody.
Yep, that was us.
I think that was everybody. We enjoyed adult beverages. We had a fine buffet. We got pictures with every character that came by. I think they gave us a little bit of extra attention because we were all adults and we were having a good time. It was so much fun, though. It really was. And, yes, we were acting silly, and that was great. Yeah. I cannot thank everybody enough for helping out with the 5K. For those of you that aren't aware that are listening, we took part in the HR Florida 5K. The money went to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which, as we've talked about, particularly for me, is a very personal. I take it very personally because it has affected my family directly. And we had just incredible support. We raised $530 as a team. So we ended up number 5 out of 29 teams. Happy to say, Wendy, we are the only non-chapter HR-based team, and we did it. We raised money. We all finished. We were able to actually run the chat while we were doing it. Big ups to Kate Bischoff and Mark Alphonse for helping us out with the chat. But I was tweeting at the bitter end. We were not the last place folks. There were a couple folks behind us, but we all got through it, and it was just a great experience. And people actually saw me yesterday. It was like, "Hey, great job at the 5K." I'm like, "Man, whatever." I was not in it to win it. I was in it just to finish.
But we won, John, because our teammate Brad, who was added, he won one. I was looking at the HR Florida pictures last night and this morning, and he won it all. So we, both ends of the race, we were there. So congratulations to Brad. We'll have to be sure to figure out how to give him a shout out, but because he was added to our team.
For those of you that don't know, if you sign up for an event and you're apparently from out of town, you get conscripted to the Island of Misfit Toys. That is the HR Social Hour team. Wendy, how about you? What's been your highlight non-conference?
I have to say I really like this VIP thing that they have. Yeah. They have added. There's a special VIP lounge with coffee. I haven't gotten any of the coffee, so I don't know if it's any good or not, but I've gotten water there, which has been nice. We were able to check in there, pick up our stuff, and then we have special seating at the large sessions, which has been nice to not have to worry about where you're going to sit and try and find a spot. And the food, oh my God, the food has been phenomenal. But I also have to give a shout out to the non-VIP food. Anne had their box lunch yesterday and said it was great. So they're doing the food right. I've shared a couple of dessert pictures, which is my favorites. But the panna cotta at dinner last night was just awesome. I really did enjoy that. So for me, the food can. I like food. So when you have good food like they've been serving. And you're not trying to think, let's just going to go somewhere else because this is. But I think that's been fun. The vendor area has been a lot of fun, and it's a very well done, well put on conference. So kudos to the conference team, and thank you guys for inviting us because I never would have thought coming to Florida for a conference. Quite honestly, it wouldn't have been on the top of my list. So I do appreciate the Florida social media team, marketing team inviting us to come out and be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So while we're almost wrapped up with this conference, for those of you at the table, any other events planned for the year? Lorena or Amanda, you all have any other conferences coming up?
Well, there is the leadership conference that's happening for chapter leaders from all of Florida, HR Florida chapters and whatnot. So that's happening in October. It's going to be in Tampa, Florida, and I'm really excited about that one. I love the Tampa Bay area, so I'm just excited to be there and to network and to see my friends who do college relations. I've run into a few of them here, but the whole gang was actually going to be there at Tampa, so I'm excited about that.
Good. How about you, Amanda?
Well, I don't have anything planned for this year, but I've already started planning for SHRM 20. So, San Diego, yeah. Looking forward to that for now, but you never know what'll come along in the future. So,
how about you, Jazmine?
I don't think I have anything else planned for the rest of the year. I've been kind of busy towards the beginning and the middle of this year. So I think now it's going to be my downtime. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Wendy, we've got stuff.
We've still got North Dakota coming up.
We got North Dakota. I have
month.
Charlottesville SHRM the week before North Dakota.
Yeah.
And then I have the Career Arc event, Embark out in LA in October. So our season's not over. It feels like comic book convention season. It just keeps getting bigger and longer and longer. I do want to echo what you said earlier about the VIP thing. They do VIP events like this at comic book shows, and I would have never thought about doing it at an HR convention, but man, I'm glad they did, man. The food,
it's been...
I've told Heather and Deb Herman and everybody, listen, this is the best food I've had at any conference, HR conference ever. So, just amazing. Yep. Well, this has been a lot of fun, and we did want to spend just a few minutes, catching up. And it's great. It's great to see everybody. It's great to be able to share this thing, this HRFL hashtag HRFL19 together. Before we let everybody go, Jazmine, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you out there if they want to reach you on social media?
You can find me pretty much on everything, Facebook, Twitter, of course, at HRJAZZY, and then on LinkedIn with my name, Jazmine Wilkes.
Amanda, about you?
I am on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, all under the HR Panda.
Lorena?
So I am LPABONHR on Instagram and on Twitter. LinkedIn, you can look me up, Lorena Pabon, and Facebook, it's Lorena Pabon. But mind you, if you don't know me, go through LinkedIn first. I do not accept random Facebook requests.
Duly noted. We'll have it all in the show notes. Wendy, I can't imagine this being somebody's first episode, but you never know. If they're not connected with you or following you out there, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Best way always, my blog, mydailyjourney.com. That's daily is D as in dog, AILEY. And of course, fourth Sunday of each month, if you are not joining us, please do join us for the HR Social Hour Twitter chat. Next time we won't be as distracted by walking in 94-degree heat, but... it's always a good time, and September's chat is going to be pretty awesome. So how about you, John?
HRSocialHourPodcast.podbean.com. You go to the left-hand side at the top of the screen, 3 little lines, open them up. You'll see the access to all my social accounts. Download any and all episodes that you haven't listened to. And as we always ask, just rate and review. It's the best thing you can do. If you share the show, we continue to just boost the signal. Every week we see more and more growth. We see more and more countries. Again, we just and this came out of the podcast. So really appreciate everybody's time. And so for this very special edition of the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast, I'm John.
And I'm Wendy. And as always, be sure to connect,
give back, and network. Take care, everybody.
We'll see you soon.